During the Song Dynasty, he was tricked by a scumbag. He couldn't figure out why his sugarcane essence, which he had worked hard to cultivate, had to settle the cause and effect for scumbags from different positions. How could this account not be counted on him? Father who values sons over daughters. It's the same to have children, but all my money is for my son. See king boyfriend with 5 mobile phones. I have nothing to do with her, she is just my half-sister. Mom's baby husband. It's not easy for my mom to give birth to me and raise me. Is it wrong for me to listen to my mom? Yes, 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 you are all right. It was me, Song Dai-chan, who was wrong. Keywords of the novel. Quickly wearing. He repairs the black pot on the plane, no pop-ups, quickly wearing. He repairs the black pot on the plane, complete collection, download txt, quickly wearing. He repairs the black pot on the plane, latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Number 1, Sugarcane 1. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 1, Number 1, Sugarcane 1. The winter in Songjia village was very lively, and every household was carrying hose to build roads. Why? Every household can build roads. No money yet. Yangha town has been designated as a poverty-stricken town for 3 consecutive years. In the first 2 years, the village in Linha developed a tourism project. This year, documents were issued and the road was repaired to the home. Those who are willing to go to the village to register. After leveling the road that needs to be repaired at home, there will naturally be a construction team to pour concrete uniformly. Free things are the most fragrant. No one wants to miss this great bargain. Well, Su Tsuefang was guarding the yard early in the morning, waiting for the excavator to come to her door. She had already discussed with the man. Expand the small path into a road, extending directly from the road to the yard, occupying your own land on both sides, without the need for time-consuming labor to exchange with others. Lay cement on the abandoned pond again, so that the children can park their cars when they come back in the future. Thinking of my children, I sighed in my heart. They are all debts. An old man with gray hair and a thin face, leaning on a cane, walked out of the room with a trembling face. He had a stiff face, furrowed his brows, and opened his mouth, cursing. First, we pushed the labor management's house, then we moved the labor management's land. You sons of turtles will be punished. The road is already good, what to repair? No more land, I see what you're eating when you're old, eat dog poop. Su Tsuefang's face turned black. Immediately scolded back, if we were to suffer retribution, you would die without anyone to see you off. When Song Shi came down from upstairs, he heard his wife arguing with his father. He had a headache and impatiently said, "It's early in the morning, why are you arguing? You say 2 less words. A day's plan is in the morning. Oh, it's only starting today. It's either retribution or death. Who feels comfortable hearing this?" Turning to his father, he said, "What kind of trouble do you have all day? You've been fussing about this little thing for several days, can't you be bothered? I've told you all that the path is too narrow and uneven, and you like to go out for a walk. What if one day your feet slip and fall into the pond? Now that you have this great opportunity, you don't have to spend money, they can all do it for you. Besides, after repairing the road, the car can also be driven to the yard. It's so great." The old man, however, seemed to have not heard and continued to reminisce incessantly. Su Tsuefang sneered, "Look, he pretends not to hear." During the Song Dynasty, there was no intention of dealing with the conflict between the 2 individuals. They were both stubborn and had strong personalities. The decades-long grudges were like the roots of an old tree buried deep underground, wanting to uproot them. Sorry, that was just trying to eat shit. There is no solution at all. Turning to the matter of children. I'll call my aunt later and ask which day is good lately. When the boss comes back, I'll handle her wedding. Su Tsuefang's expression was very plain. Due to her love affair, her eldest daughter had long been estranged from her family and only came back once a year. She didn't go on blind dates or actively talk about marriage. She looked like she planned to stay single until old age. She was already tired and didn't want to worry anymore. If you're willing to marry a poor boy, just get married. She has broken down the truth countless times, and there is no way to not listen to her. Without parental support, the days of hardship are still ahead. By the way, yesterday Tsuehong told me that she had a friend's son who is about the same age as Qingqing. His family is from this city, and both parents work in the workplace. There are several houses, and the young man is a tower crane, costing tens of thousands a month. She asked me to ask Qingqing if she wants to go and take a look. Nevertheless, Su Tsuefang's face was not very happy. I really can't get happy. My second daughter hates blind dates the most. I don't know how many times she has been rejected. It's already 26, and I haven't even made a boyfriend. Sigh looking at it, it's also the rhythm of being single. Headache. Song Shi nodded and said, you can handle it as you please. Anyway, in the end, it's just you shaving your head and getting hot. I took out a pack of cigarettes from my pocket and lit them, and my phone rang. Su Tsuefang pursed her lips tightly. Song Shi glanced at the screen, pressed the answer button, and said, hey, I haven't eaten yet. I won't go today. We're repairing the road at home, and the excavator will be here soon. Good. Just hang up. Su Tsuefang breathed a sigh of relief and gave him a look of recognition. I went to cook. Even the footsteps became much lighter. Song Shi refused the mahjong invitation, and he had no plans to go afterwards. It's not interesting. Sitting there in the cold, it's better to think about how to complete the task. Yes. The Song Dynasty was not the original owner. He comes to eliminate causality. What cause and effect? Of course, it was the big black pot thrown at him. Flying to the horizontal pot. There is nothing more unjust than him. The key is that he doesn't even have a place to cry out for injustice, that's all. Cherish oneself. In the Song Dynasty, he was originally a purple and black sugarcane in the realm of vanity. After practicing for hundreds of thousands of years, he hoped that one day he could achieve complete merit and ascend to the 9th level of heaven to obtain an immortal position. As is well known, there are many immortals in the heavenly realm. Especially in plant systems. For example, the lotus fairy, the plum blossom fairy, the peony fairy, and the magnolia fairy sound beautiful and loud, and do not eat human fireworks. As for both plants, edible ones are too miserable. Wood has a divine position. I've never heard of any rice fairy, cucumber fairy, leek fairy, potato fairy, or anything like that. The heavenly realm does not accept these grounded things. It's useless. No matter who drinks the liquor, they still want to eat grains and miscellaneous grains. Except for peaches, grains and fruits are equivalent to garbage to immortals. But during the Song Dynasty, he was unwilling to accept it. He was lucky enough to be born deep in the Wuwei mountain. After developing his spiritual intelligence, he coincidentally entered the realm of illusion. After practicing for hundreds of thousands of years, he was just one step away from the door, but he never succeeded. Later on, I found out that I was so unlucky that I was thrown out of the pot. At some point in the mundane world, Chen Shimi, Ma Bao Nan, and Feng Feng Nan were classified and collectively referred to as scumbags. What is a scumbag? That is to say, some men are very good at disguising themselves, like sugarcane, which is sweet at the beginning but only leaves residue in the end. So scumbags are also known as sugarcane men. Song Dynasty. I, who knew the truth, shed innocent and heartfelt tears. What's going on? It's all about labor and capital matters. He offended someone with a clean and innocent sugarcane, and as Xianyuan was easy to obtain, he was caught by this big black pot. Meow. Be strict and practical. In the end, we still have to deal with the inevitable mess of our relationship with Mao with blood and tears of injustice, and end the cause and effect caused by the scumbag. Grass, a plant. Look at these 3 exclamation marks, they don't look like a big sugarcane that is so angry that it stands upside down, its face is swollen, and it's emitting double shadows. The scumbag's name this time is Song. That's right, the name is the same as him. So who is this metaphorical connotation implying? Can we still have fun playing? Everyone suspects that someone is deliberately manipulating him. Feeling that his immortal path was too flat and smooth, he spared no effort to add bricks, tiles, and walls in front of him, adding obstacles. I'm so angry that my liver hurts. Hold back. During the Song Dynasty, Yuan Jia was a native of Songjia village, with 3 children under his knee. Being able to have 3 offspring in special circumstances is enough to prove his weight-bearing nature as a man rather than a woman. Eccentricity is not a mistake. It's a choice. People should bear the corresponding consequences for the choices they make. Yuan Jia's 3 children are not close to him. Later on, it was directly disconnected. His wife, who had been with him for half a life, was also so angry that she died of illness. Once considered a prominent figure in the Song family village, he was full of energy and enjoyed his meals. However, in the end, his wife and children were separated, his family was ruined, and he died in a cold and empty old house one winter. It was unclear whether he had died from freezing or starvation. Before his death, this selfish and self-righteous scumbag regretted it for a lifetime. He wants a happy and harmonious life for his family. Loneliness leads to old age, and hunger and cold make one feel uneasy. Don't feel too deeply about it. Song. It's not a mess to the end. But he is here to settle the cause and effect and eliminate the retribution. Simply put, the original scumbag's wish is useless and doesn't need to be ignored at all. Black pot, who cares about the idea of the pot? End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Number 1 Sugarcane 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Number 1 Sugarcane 2. After breakfast, I waited until 10 o'clock for the scheduled excavator to arrive. During the Song Dynasty, he handed a cigarette to the excavator driver and lit it himself, pointing to the road under his feet. What I mean is that it's not too steep to drive directly from my yard here. As for the width of the road, let's follow the width of the road, he said. It's possible. The excavator driver glanced at the path in front of him, which was only enough for one person to pass through, and took a puff of smoke. We need to fill the soil. No problem, Song pointed to the vegetable fields on both sides. These are all mine, just dig them up. Line. The two of them discussed some details again, and the excavator started roaring. Building roads at home is a big deal. Su Cuifang had a smile on her face all morning. She went to the vegetable garden early to pick vegetables, and then took out a fresh piece of 5 flowers and eggs from the refrigerator, planning to have a sumptuous lunch table. The village is like this. If you hire someone to do something, you need to take care of the meal. Otherwise, there won't be any restaurants in the countryside. Would you like someone to waste time driving back to eat or working hungry? Why bother? A pair of chopsticks. By convention. She was washing vegetables when she heard the sound of dragging footsteps. Turning his head, he sighed in his heart. At the staircase, a tall and skinny boy walked over with sleepy eyes and a tired expression. He looked like he was in his 20s, about 1.7 meters tall, with unhealthy yellow skin and sunken cheeks. His eyes were pitch black from staying up late, his hair was permed and messy. He was wearing a black medium-length down jacket, revealing a gray woolen sweater inside. The collar was clearly greasy. It is Su Cuifang's youngest son, the beloved treasure of the family, the golden and silver eggs, and the lifeline of the old Song family, Song Zidong. Got up. The noodles I had in the morning, can I heat them up for you? He refused. "It's just noodles every day, I'm tired of eating," he said while squeezing toothpaste to scoop up water. Su Cuifang's face was helpless. "If I don't eat noodles in the morning, what will I eat? Or I will cook rice dumpling tomorrow. Who in the countryside doesn't eat such food? It's not in the city. Every day, they can take turns to eat steamed buns, mantou, porridge, rice noodles, dumplings, and big cakes." Upon hearing this, Song Zidong took a deep breath and went out holding a water glass. "Pretty. If you have ready-made food, it's good. If you have the ability, you can cook it for me. I promise I don't have any objections." Song Zidong automatically ignored his mother's fragmented thoughts. Cooking or something, it's impossible in this lifetime. If Song Shi knew what he was thinking, he would really laugh, wouldn't he? In Yuan Zha's life, the couple never ate the food made by their precious son until their death. After washing up, Song Zidong went into the house and picked up a few cookies to nibble on in the yard. Leisure and leisurely. While gnawing at my phone. Occasionally reply with 2 sentences. After nibbling on the biscuits, I grabbed the chicken coop head and went to the kitchen to boil water and wash it clean. Then, I used a hair dryer to blow out the shape and grabbed the car key before leaving. I'm out now. Without waiting for Su Cuifang's answer, she strode away. Su Cuifang was still cutting meat and quickly put down her kitchen knife to chase after her. "We'll have lunch soon," she said. "Unfortunately, the person has run away without a trace." Soon, the sound of a car starting could be heard from behind the house. She tightened her lips and, holding her breath in her heart, returned to the kitchen. So out of tune, thinking about playing all day, no wonder brothers have a partner. You're still a single dog. Angry and frustrated. The 3 children are all restless. They were all obedient and sensible when they were young. Lifting the water bottle, he quickly filled the kettle with water and went to boil it lightly. The human excavator master has been working hard all morning, but there's nothing embarrassing about drinking water. The Song family is building roads, and many people come to watch. Some are envious, some are borrowed, and some purely watch the excitement. A group of people stood leisurely by the roadside smoking and boasting. How much does an excavator cost per day? 800. Oh, it's a bit expensive. What's the solution? The Chinese New Year is coming soon. Your road is a bit long, I estimate it won't be completed in a day. Almost, as long as it's roughly filled and leveled, use a hoe to trim the rest, and then it's up to the village. You've made a great deal of money on this road, earning blood. That's right, if you spend money repairing it yourself, at least that's the amount. So hurry up and start planning, don't take advantage of the cheap or the useless. Maybe this good thing won't happen next year. My family probably won't be able to do it this year. My family can't do it either. Well, that one won't exchange land or sell it. You also take it for granted how to sell their homestead land. The excavator didn't finish digging until 6 p.m. in the afternoon. The originally winding path was widened to over 3 meters, and the trees on both sides were also removed, not to mention how bright it was. The driver declined the host's meal and walked away in the darkness. Old Song hunched over in the courtyard, sighing and groaning. His self-made cane hit the concrete ground heavily, treating the ground as an unruly descendant who disobeyed and destroyed the foundation of his ancestors. Do evil, you will always regret it. Su Cuifang walked to the main hall with a vegetable plate in her hand. Just as she heard him say this, she immediately sneered and said, "You, who have done malicious things for a lifetime, have not been taken away by the heavens. If I don't believe it, I will repair a road and be struck by lightning." She naturally did not receive a response. When Old Song was young, he was sharp and agile, but as he grew older, he also developed a common disease among most elderly people, which is the back of his ear. But his earlobe is slightly different. Sometimes good and sometimes bad. Ugly words are completely inaudible, and shouting in his ear at the top of his throat only deserves a bewildered expression. As for other things, it depends on his mood. Let's eat now. Song Shi came out with chopsticks, adopting the attitude of Yuan Zai, turning a blind eye and turning a deaf ear to his wife and father's daily quarrels. It's just a mouth addiction. I can't start fighting again. Su Cuifang looked unhappy. Old Song walked in with an unsteady and trembling expression and sat down in his seat. Nothing happened overnight. Song Zidong returned the next morning. He had lifeless eyes, collapsed shoulders, and a foul odor mixed with tobacco, alcohol, and foot odor. He was even more haggard and depressed than yesterday. Su Cuifang was startled and quickly grabbed him. What are you doing here? Have you eaten yet? If it weren't for her son, she would have thought it was a beggar from somewhere. Didn't you say it? Let's watch them play mahjong, Song Zidong impatiently replied, walking to the staircase to change into his slippers. I went upstairs. Have you had breakfast yet? I won't eat it. Stepping up the stairs and returning to the room, the door slammed shut, clothes were casually thrown on the ground, shoes were kicked off, and I fell asleep with a cotton quilt over my head. On the bedside table next to it, there was a teacup with a lot of cigarette ash. The tea inside was drunk to the bottom, leaving only a pile of dead and heavy tea leaves. The ashtray was filled with cigarette butts, and the wooden cabinet was covered with about 10 burnt black marks. 10 minutes later, Su Cuifang pushed the door in with a bowl of noodles. I've cooked a bowl of noodles for you, you can eat it before you go to bed. I placed the bowl on the table and saw the messy floor by the bedside. My eyebrows furrowed tightly, and I couldn't help but speak. You still need to put away the room you're sleeping in. I've told you many times that when you see it's full, you take it out and throw it away. You're too lazy to throw away those snack pockets and trash cans next to you. When you enter the room, there's a smell. Which girl can handle it? Young people still love to keep it clean, and it's comfortable to look at. I got it. Are you bothering me? Okay, I'll take it later. Song Zidong was restless. Abdominal slander, that's because you're not feeling well. Anyway, I feel quite comfortable lying down. But he knew that if he didn't speak perfunctorily, his mother wouldn't know how long she would keep talking. After drinking alcohol and playing mahjong all night, he had already suffered from severe dizziness and pain in his head. If he kept reciting this tight spell, he wouldn't be able to live anymore. Cover your head with a blanket. A posture of refusing to communicate, disregarding labor and capital, and refusing to listen to anything. Su Cuifang stared angrily and said, remember to eat the noodles. Gently close the door. She stood in the hallway, gazing at the azure sky. The sunshine was bright, the air was fresh, and the years were quiet, so quiet. The old man is a difficult stumbling block. Men are selfish, arrogant, vain, foolish, and filial. The eldest daughter is a stubborn bone, my second daughter is a dead brain. Little son, it's obvious that he's a messy and lazy Dios. Just ask, can you not be anxious? Sigh. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Number 1 Sugarcane 3. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Number 1 Sugarcane 3. For 2 days, he has been cleaning up the roads that are still in the rough shape. Time is running out. Song Zidong, a treasure of the Song family who has never heard of family affairs, has also been caught as a able-bodied man and reluctantly picked up the shovel. To be honest, he would rather lie in bed and daydream. Working all year round, it's not easy to celebrate the Chinese New Year. Don't you still allow people to rest? He thinks quite well. But during the Song Dynasty, it was not easy to speak. Don't want to do it, do you? It's also okay. Let's put aside the blame together. Anyway, the car belongs to you, and it's also up to you if you can't find a place to park. Song Zidong, who has recently encountered daily parking difficulties. Tay really got pinched 7 inches. Not to mention how far away, just now someone came to ask him to move the car. Lazily picking up the shovel, I intend to act like a perfunctory. There is a lazy person named Xuan Laoli who is actually using soy sauce, which seriously delays the progress of the plan. I still look angry. But Song sure didn't let the cheap son go because he couldn't stand it. Even if you were playing with a shovel, you would have to be nailed here. If you want to run, there's no way. Song Zedong wanted to be lazy, but to his surprise, his father's attitude was rarely tough. Moreover, he had no money and could only dispel his thoughts. After finishing for 2 more days, accompanied by old Song's scolding and various disdains, it was finally almost done. The family rested for half a day. The next day, Song Shi and Su Cuifang went to the street early to go to the market, but they didn't let their lazy son drive them. They said they were tired and asked him to sleep more. There are a lot of people on the street. During the Chinese New Year, those who went out to work have all returned. Usually, Ghost Town is empty, and during this period, gatherings are crowded with people. In Su Cuifang's words, even your ears are almost squeezed out. The two quickly bought something and walked back with their baskets on their backs. Su Cuifang glanced at him several times along the way, but in the end, she didn't say anything. What are you saying? Why didn't you go to the tea house to play mahjong today? She is crazy to bring up this matter. Originally, she didn't even think of it. When she reminded her, it made people itch. Haha. Isn't it fragrant to stay at home and work? By the way, yesterday Cuelan called me and said she wanted to borrow 100,000 yuan, and the interest would be calculated based on the bank's deposit interest. Su Cuifang held a plastic bag of biscuits and bread in her hand. I didn't agree, I said I wanted to ask you. Borrowing so much. Song Shi grabbed the strap of the basket with both hands, lifted it up, frowned. What does she need so much money for? She said she was interested in a house, recommended by an acquaintance, cheap, and wanted to buy it. She rolled her eyes and said, you don't know, her 2 children always dislike the house they currently live in, the decoration is not good, and even bringing friends back feels embarrassed. They have been arguing for a change for a long time. Didn't she say she wanted to change cars before? It's not that the children are causing trouble, they think the cars are bad, and the house is old, and they all want to replace it. Who doesn't want to replace it? The key is, they have tickets in hand. I say she too, everything depends on the children. Children know what to do, and adults can decide what to do. They buy everything, and they think there is a mountain of gold and silver in their home. After saying this, she snorted disdainfully. Just like my own family, there was no news of buying a house back then. I only told my 2 daughters after buying it. No, it's also good. Great. Song Shi pursed his lips. His second daughter was a simple and innocent person, and his eldest daughter was sensitive. He was not close to his parents at first, but later became estranged from his family due to dating. Perhaps in your opinion, such a small matter could thin the bond between mother and daughter like a blade. Of course you don't have any feelings. The son is the most important, and the daughter is alive, without missing arms or legs or getting sick, that's all. As for my daughter's emotional needs, I'm sorry, there's nothing. Oh, there is no need for money. The original slag naturally has the same idea. Not to mention that the couple is really like Sugarcane, they speak very well to the outside world and are very sweet. They will try their best to support their children in everything they want to do, and the money earned will not be left to anyone else. In fact, the supply is limited to children. My daughter, the 2 pots of water she threw at the left-behind children at home after graduation. When you want to control them, they are your own people. Once it comes to financial interests, you automatically treat them differently in your heart. The younger sister Law's family is the opposite. Mouth disdains his daughter and says he won't care about her, but in reality, Chen Xiao has more than Chen Fei, and the 2 children are all focused on their parents. The whole family is harmonious and happy. Unlike the original scumbag home, embroidered pillows look like clusters of flowers on the surface, with straw inside in a mess. If not properly repaired and maintained, they will soon puncture the pillow surface in a few years. You can't say that. Song sure looked ahead. The children have grown up, and there are some things at home that they can participate in. As we get older, we spend most of our lives moving bricks on construction sites and know nothing except building houses. Seeing his wife's disapproval on her face, he said, just like the house we bought 2 years ago, when we thought it was spacious enough to live in and didn't consider anything else. But if we were to sit together and discuss, you would also hear 3 children saying, there are no schools nearby, no shopping malls, fewer buses, no elevator exits, no cast-in-place houses, poor sound insulation, and noise. We were satisfied with everything we saw before, but now we despise everything we see. The key is that the house has even lowered its price. It's very frustrating. Su Tsuefang moved her lips and did not refute, but she also did not agree with his words of involving her child in family decision-making. Still that sentence, what do children understand? She has the ability to earn money on her own to buy, and she guarantees that she has no objections. The two of them went to their mother-in-law's house. Passing by. According to convention, we also have to go and sit at the market every time. However, during the Chinese New Year, for convenience, we always let our son drive to pick us up and take another route. The big yellow dog at the door was barking, and Song Shi stomped his foot. The dog was startled, and Feng Xiuzhen quickly came over to greet her. The dog curled up in a circle with 2 moans. Oh, buying so many things. She smiled all over her face. Isn't this Chinese New Year? Our family hasn't started preparing anything yet, Su Tsuefang said as she walked inside. During the Song Dynasty, he had already put away his backpack and stood in the yard smoking with Su Zhiyong. He glanced at the messy hall, scattered with hammers and drills, and said, this house should have been knocked out and repaved long ago. When Su Yuan gets married, it will be more hospitable. It's best to paint the walls again, and the room will be even brighter. But Su Zhiyong smiled and said, get married. I don't know when we'll have to wait. Song Shi blinked and said, no, I don't understand what you're saying. They both gave birth, and if I remember correctly, your grandson should be full moon. So, you haven't planned to handle things for them yet. TSK, shake your head. A look of irresponsibility on your father's face. Where is it that I didn't have a plan? It's because their side is too extreme. They don't know what's going on with their daughter, and even the lion is asking for a dowry. When he mentioned this, he was extremely angry and didn't hear that a dowry was needed for a second marriage. His family, Su Yuan, was the first to marry. Unmarried boys must look for unmarried girls. His family is only at a disadvantage in this matter. But that stupid thing has a twisted brain and doesn't listen to anything. It's not a joke, he really doesn't want to care. Want a dowry? It's normal, how much does it cost? After changing the original situation, he shared the same idea with Su Zhiyong. From the bottom of his heart, he felt that the woman didn't deserve it. Song Shi wanted to laugh at this and said something unpleasant. If he wasn't satisfied, it would be a settled matter. It's important to quickly handle the matter. 60,000 yuan. Feng Xiuzhen's voice was sharp and delicate, as if deliberately trying to make the people upstairs hear her, and she deliberately raised it. She stubbornly refuses to let go, even if she loses a penny, she can't take the person away if she disagrees. I don't understand whether it's still marrying a daughter or not. Her family's girls are so wealthy. Do you want to get rich from a man? It's not like that. Anyway, I'll just leave my words here. It's impossible for them to get money from me. If they have the ability, they should give the dowry themselves. I have no opinion at all. Behind the curtains on the second floor, a man holding a swaddle tightly pursed his lips, his eyes sparkling with water. He casually wiped them and turned to look at the room behind him. The door was half open, and there were no lights on in the room. The curtains were tightened, creating a dimness and no light. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Number 1 Sugarcane 4. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Number 1 Sugarcane for this statement is too harsh to listen to. What makes one rich? The fact that all the girls and children have been born to your family indicates that you need to live with peace of mind. Besides, it's not suitable for two people to be together, and it's normal to be apart. Don't say anything about being at a loss. Su Yuan from your family used to make many female friends. Song Shi shook his head and said, Feng Xiuzhen, don't bother around. I don't want to meddle in your family's affairs, just think about it. Su Yuan is old and will get married sooner or later. You will have to pay for this money no matter what. You can't get away with it. Looking at Su Zhiyong again, he smiled and exhaled a cloud of smoke. I haven't heard of anyone in these 10 miles or 8 villages getting married yet. As parents, you can't pay a penny, let alone. Cough, cough. He cleared his throat and spat on the ground twice. When you Su Yuan went out to work and moved bricks on the construction site, your monthly salary was paid to Feng Xiuzhen's card. The child earned 200 yuan in living expenses from working hard, and even breakfast was not enough. Now that it's time for the child to use money, you have the ability to earn it on your own. So, don't you hold on to all the money they earn. TSK, I feel like I'm not confident when I listen. I don't know where you have the confidence to speak up, but you don't feel guilty. Su Zhiyong and Feng Xiuzhen couldn't see the extreme expression on their faces. That's right. Just have a clear understanding, okay? Who wants you to tear off this layer of fig leaf? Su Cuifang was also extremely embarrassed. Did Song Shi take the wrong medicine today? He has always looked down on his brother. Law, and even more so, he disdains to say a few more words to Feng Xiuzhen. He also looks down on Su Yuan's child from the bottom of his heart. I have always held a theatrical attitude towards these chaotic matters in his family. Just however, what was said was actually the truth. It just doesn't give people much face. Didn't Feng Xiuzhen's face turn so black that it could scrape off the bottom of the pot? Busily bulging his eyes and glaring at the man, he pulled Feng Xiuzhen aside and sat down on the bench. Don't listen to him talk nonsense. What's yours and mine? Isn't that a child? They spend money recklessly. As parents, shouldn't we take care of them? Otherwise, they who don't count their money can save it for nothing. The man from my family just hit me quite hard with that stick. They were all relatives, and I had to rely on her to step down the stairs. 2 people are sitting on the bench. Su Cuifang sighed and said, I know what you're thinking. Actually, I really understand. Who, as a parent, doesn't want their child to find a good one, right? Isn't that right, second sister? You really hit the nail on my back. Look at him. Don't worry, Su Cuifang interrupted as she saw this person about to spit out fragrance from her dog's mouth. She patted her hand with calmness, don't worry, I understand your thoughts, but right. But, okay, I don't like your home either. Just you selfish 2 in-laws, their sister only wants to return the paper. Besides, can your family afford to marry? Are you willing to give up on your product that cannot enter or exit its reincarnation? His attitude towards his son is the same as that of the landlord and wealthy man who used to be a black-hearted contractor. Aren't these children already born? So big and chubby grandson, can your family's 1st and 3rd generation be stuffed back into their stomachs, or can they be taken out and thrown away? Definitely not. You don't want this daughter. Law, you always have to find another one for Su Yuan. Can this stepmother have a biological mother who is good to her child? The dowry she wants is better. How can you deal with it? Continue to refuse. Okay, let's talk about the nearby instead of the distant ones. Drive people away, who will take care of the child. You expect Su Yuan, a man, to take care of the child, but in the end, you still need to help. All the extra things have come out. It's better to help them. If you really can't stand it, you can't tolerate sand in your eyes. When Fan Yu's body is better, let them move out. On the other side during the Song Dynasty, Su Zhiyong was also being advised. Su Yuan, you have never taken care of him since he was young. His salary is all controlled by you. Looking around the streets, there are no parents like this. Even if they don't subsidize their children, there is no reason to exploit them. He wants to establish a family now, and you can help him as a father. You are angry and dissatisfied with him, but now that they all have children, what else can they do besides support? The days ahead are for him, and whether he lives well or not is their own business. As long as you fulfill your responsibilities as a parent, you don't have to block the road and make your child hate you. He has no way to survive. If something irreparable happens, you know your own son's personality and it's not impossible. Su Zhiyong sneered, with just his cowardly nature, his mind is not clear yet. What can he do? The clay figurine still has 3 parts of its bloodiness, and the rabbit even bites when it's urgent. You only have 2 sons, and you plan to rely on Su Jia alone in the future. The eldest son is like an enemy and doesn't plan to have any dealings anymore. It's only 60,000 yuan. It's a big deal, and it won't take a year to make it back. He flicked the cigarette ash casually, looking like an old smoker, and snorted, you don't even know what the outside world says about you. Su Zhiyong. Me. Tell me what? I was a bit confused. Oh, what can I say about you? It's just that you can't match the Big Brother's style. The Big Brother's family begged for his daughter-in-law last year, and everything was well arranged for the wedding at the Sanjin Hotel. The dowry was also fine, and the bride's parents gave her as much as she wanted. It gave her face and earned her face. Who wouldn't say that he was a bold and generous man who stood firm in the Su family? He ignored his brother-in-law's frosty face and increasingly heavy breathing, and continued to sprinkle carbon residue on his wound. Just that day, I heard someone gathered around and said, Big Brother's family has a grandson. It's a joy. Your grandson was either born without a mother or a father, and they are all children of the Su family. It's because the elders in the family have no pattern, one is a precious treasure, and the other lives worse than a dog. Su Ji's courage was unbearable, his lips trembling. Who said that? How dare they say that? My own family matters are none of their business. What's this? I haven't said what's really unpleasant yet, Su Zhiyong said slowly as he met his skeptical eyes. You and Feng Shuzhen have nothing to do all day long, tearing down a good home and leaving their wives and children scattered. They look unlucky and do all sorts of immoral things. Their son hates you, their grandson hates you, and no one will see them off when they die in the future. It's said that Su Yuan's parents who spent 8 lifetimes on a bloody mold stall like this. When you were young, you were not a good person, and when you get old, you are full of bad luck. You just want to play tricks on a white wolf, empty-handed, selfish in this life, and like a pig or a dog in the next life. Saying that your character is corrupt is a scumbag. Saying that the Su sisters are all good, it's because of you, a crooked and cracked jujube garbage scumbag, that I suspect you're not even my parents' child. Oh, by the way, he glanced at his younger brother-in-law with a mixture of blue and white on his face. Some people say that Su Yuan should directly sue you. They say that your behavior is like that of a black-hearted and ruthless laborer who ran away a few years ago. They want him to use legal means to recover his salary for these years, so that he can get married, raise children, and even buy a house without any problems. I made it clear in advance that if Su Yuan asked me to testify, I wouldn't lie, deceive or distort the facts. As an uncle, I can't be looked down upon by younger generations. Su Jiong was trembling all over. His eyes turned black in waves, and his heart seemed to be about to jump out, unable to speak. Feng Xiuzhen screamed, her voice cracked, how dare he? I'm his mother. During the Song Dynasty, he pouted without hesitation, so what? There are too many parents and children going to court, and that's a place for reasoning and justice. Either you are his mother or the truth. Feng Xiuzhen. Crazy, crazy. My heart is like a firecracker stuffed on the edge of explosion. So why are you here today? Are you looking for trouble? End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Number 1 Sugarcane 5. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Number 1 Sugarcane 5 During the Song Dynasty, stirring the wind and rain at my brother-in-law's house caused a pair of unscrupulous parents to feel uneasy. I'm afraid Su Yuan will really go and file a lawsuit. At that time, not only will he lose face and become the laughing stock of the entire Yanghe town, but he will also have to spit out all the wages of his son that he had previously occupied. The two of them silently calculated in their hearts. My eldest son graduated at the age of 16 and was taken to a construction site. He received his documents and couldn't go anywhere, so he had to work hard to move bricks. Apart from the low salary in the first year, he would have to pay at least 70,000 to 80,000 yuan per year. Over the next 7 to 8 years the number of slots is quite large. Even if he deducts his living expenses at home, phone bills, clothing money, and the pension money he should give, he still has to take out 150,000 yuan. My heart is vomiting blood. If Song Shi knew these two thoughts, he would really laugh. Pension money. Thank you for coming up with it. Two able-bodied people in their 50s are thinking of gnawing on their sons. Speaking of which, my mother-in-law, who is 80 years old, has never seen you give me money before. And that damn living expenses, it's all so funny. He is a family of 3, with a monthly living expenses of only over 2,000 yuan. Su Yuan spends 10,000 yuan a year, which is beyond the sky. Feng Xiuzhen was furious and cursed in the yard. Coincidentally, Su Yuan came down to boil water and prepared to change her child's diaper for a while. Her eyes were red as she looked at her old enemies and said, I knew I should have thrown you away in the first place, so I wouldn't have grown up to harm me. Su Yuan is very sad. Even though I have heard it many times, I am still sad. But just now Uncle Song called him, advised him, released him, and let him know what is most important at this stage. I also told him not to be impulsive and to remain calm, and to call them whenever there was anything. He could hear his mother's curse and his father's resentment clearly and clearly. It cannot be changed, nor can it be changed. Su Yuan didn't say anything and carried the kettle upstairs. On rural roads. Su Cuifang has been complaining, she blames Song Go for saying such things. That's my younger brother. I understand you're trying to help Xiaoyuan, but can't you be a little more tactful? Even though you know he has a small axial eye and you're stimulating him, you're still comparing him to your older brother in front of him. After a moment, by the way, I didn't hear anyone say those things. Can others still say it in front of your own sister? With a pout, I don't want to take care of Su Jiong's mess. Isn't it convenient to mention it? If you hurry up, you'll be there. Besides, I don't think I was wrong either. You know better than me what kind of people your younger brother and his wife are. In their attitude towards Su Yuan, there is no more selfish and indifferent parent than them. The child was left to his mother-in-law and father-in-law from birth, and he has never been asked to take care of him before. After graduating from vocational high school, he was forced to work day and night on the construction site like a strong laborer. He has only grown up to be a bit temperamental, and the other issue is not that your nephew is lucky. If you don't take this heavy dose of medicine, it really extinguishes the child's hope. It's possible that he will kill your brother's whole family on impulse with hatred. He spoke calmly and lightly. Su Cuifang's hair stood up as she listened. No, I can't. Don't talk nonsense. Song sure sneered, I'm talking nonsense. Think carefully about what your younger brother and his wife have done during this period. If it were you, wouldn't you hate them? Su Cuifang has nothing to say. If it's really her turn, stop talking nonsense and draw your sword. Song sure sighed and said, I hope your brother can think clearly. Upon returning home, the two of them began preparing things for the Chinese New Year. A few days later, the construction team from the village arrived and began to register and have already completed the preliminary road construction for the villagers. During the Song Dynasty, the muddy road of the family was covered with concrete, and the weather has been very good lately. It only took 3 days for it to air dry. Rao, the dissatisfied old man Song who had been scolding him all along, didn't say anything more. January 25th. Song sure called Su Yuan. The other party happily said that their family has agreed to give 60,000 yuan. Uncle Song, when I get married, you and my second aunt must come and play around early. Line. Hang up the phone. That's great, that young man who has been suffering for half his life and is somewhat stubborn has not done irreparable things. The whole family is living well, and life is heading in a different direction. Everything has been going smoothly recently. Although her second daughter once again rejected her blind date proposal, she was rejected much more and had already become accustomed to it. After cursing the ignorant dead girl a few words, she went to chop off the pine and cypress branches. What are you doing? Smoked sausages and cured meat. Carrying a basket of pine trees, I came back and saw my youngest son smoking on the second floor, looking out into the distance. I suddenly realized the discord that had been lingering in my heart for several days. It's this kid. The guy who runs without a trace all day is actually a otaku at home. Very unexpected. Moreover, looking at him like this, it seems that he has no intention of going out today. Curiously, he asked, didn't Song Jiabao and He-yun play with you recently? I found it. Why didn't I see you go? I don't have any money on me, what are you going to do? What? You don't have money. Where's your money? Su Cuifang was shocked, okay. Although she is old, she hasn't developed dementia yet. If I remember correctly, I only gave my youngest son 10,000 yuan a while ago, and today it's only half a month, so he has spent it all. I saw Song Zidong pouting and casually saying, it's a flower. All spent. What's wrong with you? Where have the flowers gone? The housing prices in the county town are only over 3,000 yuan. Did you spend 3 square meters in 10 days? A daily consumption of 1,000 yuan. Are you a devil? Su Cuifang's heart was in agony. So that's why she didn't think there was anything wrong with Feng Shizhen managing Su Yuan's money. Black sheep. Song Zidong didn't feel like he was spending too much, but instead refuted her with reason and evidence. So, don't I have to spend money when I go out to play? Back then, it's always someone else treating me, am I embarrassed? If I don't have money, it's not worth it to play. Do you think 10,000 yuan is a lot? Can it last long? After eating, singing a song, and then casually buying something, it's gone. For example, who around me spent how much? The subtext is that I am far behind others. Su Cuifang blocked her chest in one breath and said with hatred, if you don't have money, just stay at home. Song Zidong looked at her figure leaving angrily, snorted nonchalantly, and returned to the room. Wood has money. Then lie down. Su Cuifang walked around outside aimlessly, and her heart, which had almost fallen ill from being a spendthrift, gradually calmed down. She began to doubt whether she had really missed it. After all, nowadays consumption is high, and young people also need to socialize outside. Just like the Zhou family nearby, their kid can lose $7,000 or $8,000 in mahjong overnight. Compared to them, their own stinky kid is not much. But soon, her anger and blood surged again. The reason was that she met Chen Ziheo's mother on the way and chatted for a while. After learning that her son had not asked his parents for money for a long time and spent his daily salary, Su Cuifang could hardly maintain her smile. Hold on. You can win. After chatting a few more words, her face suddenly collapsed after turning around. Stinky kid. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Number 1 Sugarcane 6. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Number 1 Sugarcane 6 Su Cuifang finally softened her heart and gave 10,000 yuan to the spendthrift with a stern face. Very unwilling. Seeing him casually and seemingly not paying much attention, he couldn't help but remind him repeatedly, don't spend money recklessly. You're also at work and know that money is not easy to earn. Got it. Seeing that her son's answer was quite obedient this time, she didn't bother anymore. After giving instructions, I left. As the Chinese New Year approaches, there are a lot of things to do at home. After only taking out the money for a few days, she found it empty again. Originally, she had planned to only give 2,000, after all, it was not good for the boy to be out of pocket. As a result, the stinky kid just said, "What's that money for? Don't even look up." Full of contempt and disdain. She almost collapsed in anger. After scolding him a few times, he eventually compromised and his love for his son prevailed. Chinese New Year, who doesn't spend money? I filled my home with sausages, baked cured meat, marinated various meats and vegetables, and even went to a neighbor's house to grind beans and make tofu. On December 28th, the second daughter returned. In theory, she hasn't had her vacation yet, and when asked, she found out that she resigned. It is said to have been planned for a long time, but it has been delayed until now. Su Cuifang of the Song Dynasty had no objections to this. The former has other plans, while the latter, I happen to have time for a blind date. Song Yuqing. Instantly surrounded by a thick regret. At this critical moment, what job did she resign from? Isn't it like giving sheep to tigers? I completely cannot understand why her mother is so passionate and persistent about blind dates. Don't you feel embarrassed? Two completely unfamiliar young men and women meet and display their very private information in front of each other, enduring the scrutiny of a stranger, including his family and friends. No matter what she thinks, she finds it difficult to accept. Mom, I'm still young. Are you still young? You will be 27 years old after Chinese New Year. Look at your classmate, who is who? The child is already 2 years old. A cliché detail. Song Yuqing replied, it's none of my business. Whoever wants to go, I won't go anyway, and then she kicked herself upstairs. What's the rush? The most important thing now is the boss's marriage. Let's talk about the sunny day later, said Su Cuifang, who was holding on to her anger during the Song Dynasty. Su Cuifang stared at Juzi and said, what did I do in my previous life? I really owe them. But at least I didn't mention the blind date of my second daughter again. Yes. She shifted her focus to her younger son and said, there is a very famous matchmaker in the city. I paid 3,500 yuan to join the association, and she has hundreds of unmarried girls of all types. She will definitely choose the best and most suitable one for her son. They have received the money. Isn't that a package to solve the problem of being single? A few thousand yuan can help San Bangzi find a wife for his son who can't beat a fart but only argue with his family. It's a great deal. She didn't realize that the money was being spent unjustly at all. Song Shi. Can your motherly heart still grow a bit more off-center? My son is my treasure, and my daughter is my grass. Too much noise without a mouth. There is no other reason, and the original scum also thinks so from the bottom of their hearts. The fact proves that Su Cuifang can really be more biased. In 2 more days, the eldest daughter will be leading her future son-in-law to visit for the first time. As an elder, what must I prepare? For example, red envelopes, and so on. When Song Shi asked about it, Su Cuifang didn't even lift her eyelids. What preparations are you going to make? His family is so poor that he's the only one left, and the wedding will still be held in our family. If my daughter marries him well, it will be a loss of blood. It doesn't matter if his family is either a dead girl with a brain in the water or a bachelor's life. Speaking of it, I'm angry and even want to give him a red envelope. I want to beat his brain. Two people sitting side by side in bed watching TV. Song Shi stared at the male lead and supporting roles who were fighting fiercely on the screen, causing no headaches. Yuan Jia was originally a man with extremely serious chauvinism. He had a plan already. I didn't ask any more questions. There's nothing to ask. This couple's attitude towards their 3 children was evident in that lifetime. 2 days later, the eldest daughter of the original scum, Song Yuhuan, returned, along with her male friend Lin Cheng, whom she had been dating for 7 or 8 years but had been in an unrecognized state. Song Yuhuan, who combines all the advantages of the original dregs and Su Cuifang, looks very beautiful. Her skin is fair and translucent, her hair is dark and thick, her facial features are delicate and charming, and she exudes a scholarly aura. Lin Cheng, who has a tall and handsome figure, is a perfect match for her. Everyone knows that these 2 people have become a foregone conclusion. Even though Su Cuifang used to be very dissatisfied, she now occasionally gives a smile. Lin Cheng comes from a sales background, is eloquent and hardworking. He is also a kitchen expert. When he gets home, he takes the initiative to help cut vegetables and cook without chatting for a while. In the evening, Su Cuifang also had a sincere smile towards her son-in-law. During the Song Dynasty, this marriage was also well received. On the evening of New Year's Eve, after washing their feet, a few children were playing cards upstairs. He walked in with Su Cuifang. After chatting a few words, we got to the main topic. You're not young anymore, we've been together for quite some time, and we know each other well. What do you think about getting married? Song Yuhuan and Lin Cheng certainly want to get married. To be honest, if you two had agreed earlier, both of them would have been able to make soy sauce. Now that my parents have finally let go, of course they have said they are willing. Since that's the case, then let me handle the wedding arrangements, he said, looking at Lin Cheng. You don't have many relatives over there, so it's okay for us to handle the wedding banquet, right? Lin Cheng Dao, no problem. His parents have both passed away, and he is the only one in the family, so he can't handle it. It's better to do it together and make it more lively. Su Cuifang didn't speak, obviously agreeing. Song Shi nodded and said, we have reached an agreement on this point. A while ago, I found someone to calculate the date. The 9th day of February is not bad, and it happens to be Sunday. I will arrange the wedding banquet, wedding hotel, and so on. You can take a leave early and come back. Song Yuhuan was a little surprised, aren't you doing it at home? Did her father mean to hold her wedding in a hotel? That's not cheap. According to my understanding of my parents, that is clearly a qualification that only my son has. It would be great if my daughter had a damn mat. Su Cuifang was also equally surprised, she was even more surprised than her eldest daughter. This is different from what I said before. Song Jia, you are really a dog. In the hotel. Have you booked a hotel yet? With so many people getting married and treating guests for the Chinese New Year, there's no room for you. In my opinion, we should just do it at home. It's lively and festive, and now the yard is flat and spacious. She said expressionlessly, and that day, didn't my cousin say that this 12th day of the month is also a good day? In my opinion, that day was quite good, so we don't need to go back for the Chinese New Year. There was a hint of dissatisfaction in the tone. I had already budgeted for the necessary expenses according to Song Go's instructions, and my heart was twisted like a knife. How much does it cost? It's not worth it, it's not worth it. She resisted from the heart. 12th is not bad, maybe it's the 9th day of the Lunar New Year, the 9th day of the Lunar New Year, for a long time, with many good meanings. Moreover, time is not enough. Marriage is a major event in life, how can we settle for it? A month of preparation is too hasty for me. At least during the Song Dynasty, I was also a prestigious person in the Song family village. I asked myself if I was doing well outside. My daughter's marriage was the first wedding of my Song family generation, and it was done in such a hurry. Others thought there was something shameful about it, which made my face lose. Should I go out and meet people? After speaking, he looked at his eldest daughter with a soft gaze and said, "The day after tomorrow, let the third son take you to the city. Dad has arranged for you to take wedding photos in Yuanli." Su Cuifang's fierce gaze glared at him. Song Yuhuan's tears flowed down, like a spring of water, which was something she couldn't control at all. The key is, she still choked up and couldn't speak. Surprise, moved. Weave a dense net to surround her. Does Dad also value her? She thought so. Song Yuhuan bit her lips tightly. Lin Cheng held on to her hand and silently comforted her. Before coming, they had actually talked about the wedding many times and had various discussions about the position of the female friend in the Song family, which was hard to imagine. "Uncle, I have money, I can." "What money can you have?" Song Shi interrupted him, "You just finished decorating the house, and you still have to pay off the loan every month. How much can you save? Can you give Huan a beautiful and enviable wedding? Can you make her remember the day you got married without any regrets in the future?" Seeing Mao Jiao's son.in.law choked, he straightened his face and said seriously, "Don't argue with me about these things. These are all things that parents should do for their children. As a man, you should take good care of your family after marriage, and everything will prosper. You should understand this the most." Lin Cheng nodded and said, "Uncle, I will." His gaze was clear, firm and solemn. Song Shi knew he could do it. The eldest daughter may seem strong and powerful, but in reality, she is sensitive and fragile, with little courage. She is socially fearful and insecure. If it weren't for Lin Cheng's constant companionship, love, and tolerance towards her, she would have used her life to heal her childhood long ago, instead of spending a lifetime. Nevertheless, those experiences had a significant impact on her life. "Huan, don't cry, wipe away your tears. People who are about to get married should be happy. You don't have to worry about anything or worry, just leave it to me and your mother. Both parents have a clear idea. My daughter's marriage is a great joy." No matter what, he couldn't say such a scumbag in front of his two daughters, future son.in.law, and "Son, I'm definitely different from you and your brother, can you understand? It's a reminder and a warning. Don't think about what shouldn't have happened to you. The original residue is disguised extremely well. This is the only truth he said during his lifetime when he rarely participated in his daughter's growth. Truth always hurts people. How embarrassing. Undoubtedly, he slapped his eldest daughter hard in the face and stabbed her increasingly numb and scarred wound. Blood gushes out, piercing through the heart. Cold-hearted son.in.law. It also made the second daughter feel cold and no longer have expectations and love for her parents. This differential treatment made her eager to escape from this family. And what kind of family will you enter? Not very important. You don't have to invest in emotions, then you won't get hurt. As for Yao Er, the beloved one, the ultimate beneficiary of the preference for sons over daughters, with such clear support from his parents, he became even more selfish and reckless in the future, acting recklessly. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Number 1 Sugarcane 7. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Number 1 Sugarcane 7 Yuan Jia rarely interacts with his children, he is more outgoing outside. Song Shi finished speaking and went back to his room. Su Cuifang looked at her tearful eldest daughter and hesitated to speak. Her lips moved and she wanted to tell her not to take her father's words to heart. Why? Because she will definitely stop it. She felt heartbroken at the thought that money would flow out like flowing water. Even though it was previously agreed, I don't know what medicine that dog took wrong today. Unable to grasp her husband's thoughts, Su Cuifang dared not make a decision without authorization. She told the children to rest early and hurriedly left. Lin Cheng wiped away tears for his female friend. Many people have mixed mouths. They didn't say anything from their hearts, talked a few words, and then went back to their respective rooms. In the room, Song Shi was closing the drawers. He was holding several red envelopes in his hand, obviously preparing to send New Year's money to his children. Su Cuifang stormed in and was stunned for a moment. When did you pretend? She didn't know. Normally, she should have prepared this matter. The youngest son is already 24 years old, so I haven't heard of anyone giving red envelopes to their young children. Isn't this funny? In the afternoon, let's celebrate the Chinese New Year with good luck. Song Shi smiled and took out a stack of red envelopes printed with congratulations on getting rich and handed them to his wife. In the new year, everything goes smoothly. I went to my daughter's room. Su Cuifang's heart softened and she scolded with a smile, I'm already quite old. What else should I accept? No. Why is it so thick? Her fingers pinched again, and it was impossible for this to be a thickness of 200 yuan. She quickly opened the red envelope and with just one glance, her heart thumped. She shook her hands and pulled out a stack of red envelopes, 1, 2, and 3 grass. That's a whopping 2,000 yuan. Song Go, you are a spendthrift. Is your skull sick? Have you not woken up from the drink you had at noon yet? Do you really know what you're doing? You will definitely regret it. How happy I was when I received the red envelope, how angry I am now. 2,000 each, 4 out, that's 8,000. Sleeping slot. Who in or out of the village is giving so much money? Isn't this a pure waste of money? They are all working and have salaries, which means it's rare for you to show off here. Your face is the most important thing, right? It's impossible for her to rush over and retrieve the money during the Chinese New Year, or use the excuse of pretending to be wrong. Su Cuifang was unwilling and frustrated, feeling so angry that her liver hurt. Song Shi will be back soon. He had a smile on his face and was in a great mood. He was not surprised to see his wife sitting by the bed with a gloomy face, so he pretended not to see her. Humming a song and turning on the TV to watch the Spring Festival Gala. On the beautifully dressed stage, male and female singers are passionately singing to each other. It's a song he knows. So he also started singing along. Su Cuifang. I'm such a big living person, just put the air conditioning on the edge, why would you pay attention to it and die? When I was young, my mother had thick eyebrows, big eyes, and bright ears and eyes. How could a beautiful woman fall in love with you, this clumsy hammer of an elm tree? Take a deep breath and say, you have nothing to say. Song Shi. What are you saying? Staring intently at the TV screen. Su Cuifang's fingers twitched, and she felt a slight itching in her nails. She wanted to scratch anything she didn't want to do, and the face next to her that needed to be beaten was very suitable. What are you talking about? Talk about the boss's marriage, talk about the red envelope just now. After all, considering the children, she lowered her voice and shouted, are you crazy? The boss got married, as we had agreed, we would buy our own ingredients and keep them at home. At most, we would spend more than 10,000 yuan, and the gift money would be around 30,000 yuan. We would give the boss a dowry of 30,000 yuan, and at most, a few thousand yuan would be spent at a banquet, saving both money and trouble. You're good, you changed your mind quietly, and even booked all the movie studios. They have money themselves, don't they know how to book them? You have to manage it. It's up to you to decide what to do together. It's up to you the final say. The wedding in the restaurant is so expensive, and the food may not be good enough. I think it's better to arrange it at home. Previously, we thought about the standard of 388 per table. If you don't think it's good, then we can upgrade it to 588. I will negotiate the price and ask them to add 2 more good dishes to ensure that the banquet is well prepared, and anyone who eats it must agree. If you can't save face in front of the child, I'll go talk. The eldest daughter has been sensible and obedient since childhood. She is a mother and has nothing to say. As a family, there's nothing we can't talk about. Why spend that unjustified money? How many years did the couple work on the construction site before saving some money? Is it easy? Su Cuifang is a very strong person. When Song Go was young, he loved to play and didn't care about his family. He showed brotherly loyalty and was particularly straightforward and easy to deceive. Drinking a few drinks with others was like being a buddy, and being casually made up by someone would be like taking his heart out of his lungs. Even if he was tricked by a project, his reputation for hard work would be ruined, to the point where he didn't even have a job to resist cement and move bricks. As a skilled worker, he fell to the point of being a gatekeeper, and his foolish nature remained unchanged. I can't even scrape together my child's tuition all year round. No. He doesn't even have the fare to go home. Men can't rely on Su Cuifang, dragging her 3 cubs alone, and having to deal with various criticisms and dissatisfaction from her in-laws on her own. With a bit of a soft personality, she has already jumped into the river. Song Goshin felt guilty. Whenever it was not a matter of principle or not a lot of money, he would basically rely on his wife. But during the Song Dynasty, it was not the original residue. There are much more things included in his principles. If my son doesn't spend over 100,000 yuan on a second marriage with children, the eldest daughter will have to spend thousands of yuan on it. Eccentricity like this will bring retribution. He snorted softly, saying so much, it's just that you're reluctant to spend money on your daughter. Su Cuifang was taken aback for a moment, her face stiffened for a moment, and then retorted, I can't bear to spend money on her. I raised her to such a big age, supported her to go to college, and married her. I've done this better as a mother than most people. Otherwise, take a look at your second sister's family. What has she done? Her 3 daughters all got married like this when they went out to work on their own. Not to mention treating guests and banquets, their stomachs were already 7 or 8 months old when they came back for the Chinese New Year. Drinking in my hometown is not as good as in the city, but at least my mother did it for her. She did it. Anyone who mentions her can speak confidently without feeling guilty, and she has fulfilled her responsibility as a mother. During the Song Dynasty, there was a clear understanding of her ways of thinking. All because the same goes for the original slag. He sneered, why don't you go ask Huan now if she is willing to have such a wedding? I think compared to a wedding that she sees as perfunctory, tasteless, and lacking in atmosphere, she would rather not have anything and just pull her marriage certificate. Just citing evidence, it won't cost less than 100 yuan. It's so cheap, are you satisfied? I know she's so strong, I know she would rather be lacking than being promiscuous. If you don't give her face and even pull her out to lose face, is money that important? Is a child's lifelong event not important? How many tables are you planning to treat your son to in his hometown when he gets married? You just need to say, yes, and I'll go tell Huan Qingqing right away that the wedding banquet won't be held and the guests won't be invited. I'll give you 100 yuan and take photos to prove that my father invited you. There's no way, your mother wants to leave all the money to her son. You daughters are not even worth a penny in her heart. What nonsense are you talking about? When did I say I wanted to give all the money to Dong Dong? She pursed her lips and stretched her neck to look at the window, suppressing her voice even lower. Can you stop bothering me so much? Oh, why, you're also afraid your daughter might hear it. I thought you're not afraid. By the way, you didn't make a statement just now, did you do the same when your son got married? Song saw her not speak, but he choked his neck and sneered, my son gave me pocket money in 5 figures, but my daughter got married and cut it like an iron rooster. It's the same meat that falls off your body. If you put your left hand in gold and want to give it up, but you want to chop off your right hand, you're not afraid to put all your eggs in one basket and end up with nothing. Isn't this just a joke? Just 3 children, treating the other 2 unfairly. Do you think their sibling relationship can be good and lasting? I think you've been living a peaceful life for a long time and want your home to become restless and lively. We're still here, but there's a connection. Once we're gone, do you think the 3 of them will still be together? The first and second have a good relationship since childhood, so don't worry. The third will become a lonely family, and neither of our sisters will treat him well. These are all the bitter fruits of our parents' favoritism. What's the use of money? It will always be spent and earned again. The family's relationship is the most important. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Number 1 Sugarcane 8. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Number 1 Sugarcane 8 Is emotions important? Emotions are certainly important. Su Tsuefang also has 2 daughters in her heart, but she cannot talk about money. Talking about money can hurt feelings. Whenever she thought of spending money on them, she felt uncomfortable all over, as if pricked with small thorns, painful and itchy, irritable and resistant. On the contrary, if her son doesn't ask for money for a few days, she will also feel uncomfortable. Just she is accustomed to favoritism and discrimination. But she doesn't want her 2 daughters to distance themselves from her son anymore. She likes a happy family without any barriers, hopes that her son will live well and everything will go smoothly, and hopes that her daughter will be filial and sensible and give her a long face. What about the dowry? You also plan to change the dowry. Banquets and other things are all small money, and the gift money can be collected quite a bit. The dowry is the big deal. The dog man is so fickle that he probably needs to change his original plan of 30,000 yuan. How much do you think is appropriate? Song did not answer directly, but asked her in reverse. Su Tsuefang. It's very difficult. It's not suitable at all. Give it less, you have to say I am biased. Give more, I can't pass my own level. After thinking for a while, thinking about her husband's attitude tonight, she gritted her teeth and said, why don't we add another 20,000 and give it 50,000? Woo-woo, my heart is dripping blood. 50,000 yuan, it's real gold and silver, not just a casual mahjong thrown out. Song nodded in satisfaction and said, 50,000 is really good. Su Tsuefang's face showed a forced smile, without any joy of being praised, only a strong unwillingness. That's it. Ran goose, 50,000 is indeed good, but getting married is not auspicious and doesn't sound good. It's better to add up an even number and give it 80,000. 8, the meaning is so good. Su Tsuefang. Finally, natural resistance was ineffective. Originally, the dog said something about rounding up to 100,000 yuan, but in the end, she gave up despite her strong opposition. Another loss of 30,000, blood flowing into a river. When Su Tsuefang calls her younger sister Su Tsuelan to complain, what can the latter do? Comfort her, and persuade her to accept. Money is not money, it's all for the sake of children. Taking her 2 ancestors out for a walk again made Su Tsuefang even more frustrated. My younger sister can spend hundreds of thousands on buying a house for her children and borrow various things. She even searches for tens of thousands of dowries, saying that anyone who goes out will lose face. Su Tsuelan hangs up the phone and turns around to roast with her husband Chenimin. My second sister is the most fake person. Although she talks about her children being the same, in reality, her son is the darling. Huan and Qing finished college and didn't spend any more money at home. That winter, they took the driver's license exam. She and her second brother-in-law paid the tuition fee before going out to work, but they were worried and gave him 50,000 yuan for living expenses. That kid used it all in less than 2 months, and the second sister was furious. She even said she passed the exam and didn't buy a car. As a result, as soon as she arrived in Z province, she went to see the car in just 2 days and immediately paid nearly 200,000 yuan in full. Fortunately, the second brother-in-law hasn't gotten home yet and knows he can't joke about his child's wedding. To be honest, if his daughter's wedding isn't done well, what face can she have? That's her biological child. Just tell me this, don't go in front of second sister and say it, Chen Yimin reminded his wife as he measured the size. I know, I'm not that foolish, Su Cuilan pouted. On the other side, Su Cuifang secretly calculated her eldest daughter's wedding budget in the room. Wedding photos, weddings, banquets, hotels, souvenirs, 3 gold medals, red envelopes. Finally, with the dowry included, I will go and it will cost over 100,000 yuan. Dizziness and dizziness. Heaven is about to kill me. According to this standard, the second daughter will also come once, along with the youngest son Grass. The hard-earned family foundation has been emptied by debt collectors. What's the point of seeing the head of life at this glance? Su Cuifang's self-destructive thoughts. In the 3rd year of junior high school, Song Yuhuan and Lin Cheng completed the wedding dress shooting. Considering the actual situation, they did not go to the outdoor setting and did everything indoors. They also reduced the number of photos and even refunded a portion of the money. After years of waiting, Lin Cheng finally wants to form a legal family with his beloved. As a man, it is impossible for his father-in-law's family to bear all the responsibilities. He took out all his savings, not much, tens of thousands of yuan. Uncle, let's get the money for the wedding banquet out of here, he said. Song Shi glanced at him but did not refuse. Line. Su Cuifang is also very satisfied, which means she can lose less. The young man is good, quite up to the point. Favorite feelings of mother-in-law +10. Don't be proud, keep working hard. Lin Cheng has only 7 days of vacation, and he will return to Rongcheng on the 6th day of the Lunar New Year. Song Yuhuan is a freelancer, and this time she has brought back her computer. She will take orders and design at home, and leave after the Chinese New Year. Without her future son-in-law, Su Cuifang's attitude towards her eldest daughter has finally improved. During the Song Dynasty, I was very pleased. The wood is already a boat, what else can we do besides accept it? Anyway, he can't change his mind. Su Cuifang felt a certain change in her life in the dark. Until that day, that feeling suddenly became clear. The youngest son ran out of money again and asked her for it. She cursed a few times before taking out 10,000 yuan from the cabinet. Just as he was about to hand it to him, the man saw it. It's so spicy and clever. However, the man didn't say anything and went into the house for a nap. She was quite guilty, but nothing happened until evening. Until I went upstairs to rest after dinner, I saw the man take out a large stack of red tickets from the cabinet. They went to the street together a few days ago to collect them. Leaving outside without saying a word to her. Su Cuifang quickly shouted, "What are you going to do? Where are you going with the money? What are you doing?" Song Shi gave her a gentle smile and said, "It wasn't until today that I saw you giving my son pocket money that I suddenly remembered. I have been a father for almost 30 years, but I haven't given my daughter any pocket money or bought anything. It's really unfair. No wonder both children are not close to me." The original scumbag couple always emphasized in front of their daughter that there was no money at home, but they also looked very well behaved in front of outsiders, especially the man, who was extremely dragging on, and the woman always subsidized her son. The two daughters are not blind and not stupid, can they still not understand? Naturally, we have a distant relationship with our parents. Moreover, the relationship is not very intimate at first, and gradually moving away is smoother. Remembering Song Yuhuan's hysterical crying, grievances, and lack of love towards the original scumbag couple in her past life, the two of them still had an expression of, "What kind of nonsense are you talking about? What kind of coquettishness does a person in their 20s still have? Really not being human." When parents always make their children understand them, but who cares for their children, for their childhood filled with wounds that will never heal? Money is not omnipotent. But this thing can be very important at certain times, just like now, it represents fairness and equality. Su Cuifang caught his meaning and her pupils trembled. She quickly stopped him and shouted, "You're crazy. Both of them have salaries, what kind of pocket money do they need? Isn't it hard for us to move bricks? This year hasn't finished yet, how much have we spent? Then there is also a salary for winter and winter, how can you repay it? Didn't my son run out of money? Oh, how do you know that Huan Qingqing still has money? How is it the same? Why is this different?" Faced with her husband's questioning, she tightened her lips and turned her head. "We will rely on our son to support us in the future, and when we grow old, we will also be taken care of by our daughter-in-law. The spilled water will only come back as a guest." Just heard her husband sneer. The voice was extremely cold, with a strong hint of mockery. Su Cuifang's cheeks were a bit hot and she felt guilty when she was laughed at. "Relying on my son to support me. Relying on my daughter-in-law to take care of me. Okay, I believe you. But seeing is believing, hearing is believing. Later, I will call my mother-in-law, big brother and sister, Jiong Suelan, and ask them to come tomorrow to testify, with words as evidence. After Huan Qingqing gets married, our clothing, food, housing, transportation, illness, medicine, coffins, and birthday clothes have nothing to do with them. If you trust your son so much, your heart is all on him. Even the daughter-in-law who has not even given a glance at the words of her face is more trustworthy than the daughter who has been raising her for more than 20 years, and definitely agrees with both hands." Su Cuifang. My face turned pale with fear. "Okay. No. I don't. You're nothing, don't you believe in your son? Don't you believe in your daughter? In-law, actually, this is very easy to handle. Look at yourself, look at Zhou Congzhen next door, and even worse, look at your sister-in-law and sister-in-law. They are all meant to be daughters-in-law, just for reference." Song Shi curved his lips and said, "If I remember correctly, my mother has been eating at my uncle's house for the past 2 months, so she should come to our house next month." Su Cuifang's lips trembled, and her face seemed to have been slapped several times. Daughter-in-law, she is also a daughter-in-law. She doesn't want to be trapped at home and wander around the elderly at all. She doesn't want to, would her daughter-in-law be willing? Liken oneself to others. Song lowered his eyes, this was just the beginning. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Number 1 Sugarcane 9. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Number 1 Sugarcane 9. The two daughters were frightened when they received pocket money from their biological father, completely covering up their happiness. Song Yuhuan asked cautiously, "Why did you suddenly give us money? Does my mother know? There are still so many. I dare not reach out at all. It's too thick, it feels like once it's connected, it will scorch your palms like a soldering iron." Song Shi smiled and said, "Can I still not tell your mother? She knows, take it. You 3 sisters all have it, and everyone has it." The sisters hesitated. "I don't want to take it. If you take it, your heart will become weak." Song Shi sighed in his heart and saw what he had done to his 2 daughters. His biological father didn't dare to accept some pocket money, and accepting it was as guilty as doing something heinous. It felt like they didn't dare to expect anything good in the world that they didn't deserve. Compare Song Zedong again. It was all done by this couple themselves. He placed the money on the table and looked at his two daughters who were already in their 20s with a soft gaze. In his original memory, he couldn't even find the faces of the two daughters. Every year when I come back, it's a series of wine banquets and mahjong. Throughout the spring festival, he either attended appointments or fell asleep drunk. When he was sober, he went out to play cards until he left home again. For my daughter, that's always just a few words. Go pour me some tea. Go help mom set fire. Go wash the dishes. No concern, no inquiry about homework, of course, no scolding. Pure indifference. Any emotion is something that only comes with being together. They didn't get along, didn't care, didn't miss each other, so what could there be? Dad knows that I used to care little about you and often ignore you. Mom has many things and sometimes can't care about you. Mom and Dad didn't do well enough to become good parents. But you and your brother are both children of Dad. Dad thinks you are both important and likes you three the same. In the future, Dad will try to be fair and just. Your brother will have some, and your sisters will also have some. You believe in Dad, okay? The two sisters bowed their heads. Without a doubt, they didn't believe what Songshur said. And generate thoughts like, what is Dad saying? Is he crazy? Has he asked Mom what he means? However, we still need to give face to our elders. No matter what you say, just nod your head. As for whether to believe it or not, it's disastrous. The greater the expectation, the heavier the fall. Songshur didn't expect him to change the impression that sisters had had on their parents for more than 20 years by saying, keep your money and buy whatever you want. Subconsciously, I want to add a sentence. Don't mess around. Hold it back. These 4 words have been said countless times by the original scumbag couple. Basically, when I give money to sisters, I have to tell them several times. He brought the door and stood in the corridor to blow the breeze, while his daughter's room was next to his son's. Song Zidong is chatting on voice. It should have been one of his brothers who was asking him out for a date. He just received his pocket money and his wallet was full. He happily agreed. Songshur's lips curled up with a smile. Go, wave happily, because in the future, there may not be any official ATM for you to use. Give money to the black sheep, it will be generous. There is a problem with the wood. Prepare 3 copies of the same amount and it's okay. It's true that Su Tsuefang loves her son, but she also cares about money. She still buys the same product as a free gift, and she wouldn't even do such a huge loss. When Songshur returned to his room, his wife was already asleep. She is really angry. I haven't spoken to the man for 2 days in a row, and the food I cooked is extremely unpleasant, either vegetables or radishes. No one eats it. Okay. The second meal was followed by the leftovers. It was a gesture of necessity to implement the Clean Your Plate campaign to the end. Song Zidong complained several times and was directly scolded by his mother. What to eat, no money. Song Zidong. Okay, mom cooks pig food every day, and the labor and management don't serve her anymore. The whole city is packed with people and Han people. Take the car key and leave gracefully. Are you afraid of not having food even if you have money? My son is heartless, but my daughter is particularly considerate. 2 days later, Song Yuhuan's sisters took her parents to the city. They walked and ate all the way, bought clothes and shoes, drank milk tea and had a barbecue. Finally, return with a full load. Songshur bent his eyes and whispered to someone who valued sons over daughters, let's have a daughter who is considerate. Su Tsuefang clenched her fingers and scanned the brown raccoon fur in her shopping bag from the corner of her eye. The leather jacket was warm and soft, and the price was also very beautiful. In 1888, it was bought by the boss, and she didn't even blink when paying. Turn your head to one side. I don't like to talk to this person, don't I know if I can see through it or not? Fingers gently caressed the clothes, and she pursed her lips. It was really expensive, and she was absolutely reluctant to buy it herself. Perhaps the man is right. When she gets old, can't move, has no ability to live alone, and needs someone to take care of her, then perhaps only her biological daughter will take care of her. Song Yuhwan's wedding date is on the 9th day of February. During this period, she went back to Rongcheng and bought some things for marriage, and came back in just a few days. Lin Cheng took a leave with the company and arrived 2 days before the wedding. The wedding was held in a well-known and high-end hotel in the local area, and the wedding company set up a very good scene. In a deep and shallow blue, Song Yuhwan, dressed in a pure white wedding dress, released her father's arm and slowly walked towards her happiness step by step. She didn't cry. No attachment. Her family brought her both indifference and favoritism. She walked towards the youth who loved, tolerated, and healed her with a childhood that could take a long time to heal. This is a beautiful ending. The eldest daughter completed a major life event and stayed for another 2 days before returning to Rongcheng. Song Dynasty and Su Cuifan also went together. Song Zidong drove it. He strongly resisted and privately told Song Yuhwan that he wouldn't give it away. Compared to his enthusiasm for his brothers, his indifference and ruthlessness towards his own sister are chilling. However, is this something he can decide? The head of the family, Song Shi, was applauding at the dinner table, and Song Zidong dared not even fart. Song Yuhwan couldn't help but sneer at this. After all, considering the pitiful sibling relationship and someone's highly regarded face, I didn't shout out the phrase, "Didn't you say you won't give it away?" What should you do? If you have the ability to stand up just now, in public. Cheer up. 1 day later, the car was carrying a family towards Rongcheng. Lin Cheng and Song Yuhwan's house is located in the south of the city, which is an old residential area. Fortunately, it is on the 2nd floor, and even climbing stairs is effortless. This is the house they rented back then. The landlord sold it at a discount due to the urgent need for money and the elderly age of the house. And the two of them had enough to live a shared life. After calculating their savings from several years of work and considering the surrounding environment, they decided to buy it. Of course, it's a mortgage. They have already reached the age of marriage and their relationship is in place, just missing a house. Parked the car and the group went upstairs with wedding gifts from relatives and friends. Dad, Mom, be careful of the stairs. I know, go ahead and open the door. The wooden door, which was originally painted with yellow paint and has faded, has been replaced with a gray steel structure anti-theft door, which has a unique texture and sense of security just by looking at it. The old furniture and appliances inside have been discarded or sold as second-hand, and all have been replaced with new ones. Even the walls were covered with simple and elegant wallpaper. The outer packaging is not very good, but the inside exudes comfort and warmth. Song Shi and Su Cuifang looked at every room, and except for feeling that the bathroom was a bit small, everything else was quite satisfactory. With Song Yuching in my hometown, there's no need to worry about the old man's food and drink. Song Zi couldn't stay idle in winter, so he drove out to play the next day. Lin Cheng is going to work, so Song Yuhwan takes her parents around. She has already planned to visit at least the famous scenic spots in Rongcheng. However, after only visiting one, her parents find it boring and unwilling to go again. The original sentence is, when we were working outside, we used to pass by this ancient town every day, and we were tired of seeing it. Besides, what's so beautiful about this old house? It's not as old as the old street in Yanghe town. Let her busy, don't worry about them. Song Yuhwan. Okay. So in the next few days, Song Shi used his social skills to quickly get along with elderly people of the same age in the community, and even made plans to go out and crush the road together. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Number 1 Sugarcane 10. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 10 Number 1 Sugarcane 10 In the second half of the lunar month, according to the tradition of previous years, the Song Dynasty had already begun the new year of brick moving. When he returned from Rongcheng, Su Cuifang urged him to leave. She looked worried and said, "I've spent so much money on the Chinese New Year this year, and my savings have been significantly reduced. The marriage of my second and third child may be arranged at some point. Your father looks pretty good, why don't I go out with him too? We can always make money faster together." After resting at home for 2 years, I was extremely annoyed. Although she is not young, with her abilities, moving for a few more years will not be a problem. But I have to spend my free time at home taking care of the old man. Pian Song Go is a great filial son. Thinking about it makes me feel suffocated and panicked. She looked at the man eagerly, but without hesitation, she gave her 2 words. "No way. Su Cuifang. Grass. At this moment, do you believe that my mother gave you a big slap in the ear? Scratchy nails." The next second, he said thoughtfully, "How about we also move to Rongcheng?" Su Cuifang. Hey. Blinking, what? Although confused, there was not much resistance on the face. Song sure said, "Rongcheng is a good place with a flat terrain and pleasant climate. It is also a provincial capital city with many opportunities for development." He sighed, "I know you are not willing to take care of your father at home, but my father is old and not in good health. Maybe I don't feel at ease leaving him alone at home." Su Cuifang pursed her lips and turned her face to one side, tired of listening to these words. The two of them argued about this matter countless times, even bringing up divorce several times. It really hurts emotions. Actually, it's not bad to think about my eldest daughter marrying Lin Cheng. She doesn't have much support or elders to support her. But on a different perspective, there's no need for the elderly to suppress her, so there's no need to worry about conflicts between mother.in.law and daughter.in.law. You can live your life as you want, and you won't have the same worries as her in the future. I moved to Rongcheng and it's closer to Huanhuan. There are many job opportunities and excellent young people in big cities, and it's easy to find a partner. You can also find something nearby to do, which can earn money and take care of your family. As for me and my son, well, moving bricks is not just about moving. Just moving a house can solve most of the current family conflicts. Is it good to make a steady profit? Of course Su Cuifang was tempted. She had this idea before, and once she mentioned it to the man, who looked at her with the same gaze as deep well ice and said, "Moving? Are you crazy? Our roots are here, and you actually want me to uproot them? It's impossible. It's impossible even in my lifetime." This time Song Go took the initiative to mention it, she definitely nodded. "However, the housing prices in Rongcheng are so high, and we have many family members, I'm afraid we can't afford it. This is not a big problem. The two of them still have some savings, and if they sell the house in the city, it's probably about the same. They might as well buy a smaller one. The most imaginative thing is the difficult old bone at home. What should your dad do? He definitely won't go, he'll die in the old house. This is probably the last persistence of all the elderly in that era. I'll go talk to Dad." He was very confident, shook his cigarette ash, and then talked about buying a house. "I went to the agency and found that elevator rooms are relatively expensive. We have a lot of family, at least 4 rooms, at least 2 million yuan, and it's also troublesome for elderly people to use elevators. Huanhuan's environment is pretty good, just a small park when you go out. I looked around and really saw a suitable one. It's also an old community, with a first-floor area of over 120 square meters, 4 bedrooms, 2 living rooms, 1 kitchen, and 2 bathrooms. It also comes with a small garden outside, which is enclosed and can be used for planting and ordering dishes. Because it's on the first floor, it's 200,000 yuan cheaper than houses in the same community. I asked the agent to help me calculate. Sell the houses in the city, add the savings in hand, and if not enough, borrow some from relatives. Getting that house is not a problem. Su Cuifang's eyes were filled with longing. When I find a job as a sweeper or vegetable seller, and you go to the construction site to move bricks, it won't take you 2 years to pay off the debt. The key is to take care of the elderly. Just thinking about it makes me feel relaxed. I knew I shouldn't have spent so much money earlier, so I could have borrowed less. It's okay, if you have to spend money, you just have to spend it, and earn more, Song sure comforted her. The two of them finalized the direction for the future, reached an agreement, and began to work tirelessly on the property. The location of that house are not very suitable, but fortunately, the entire real estate market has been on the rise in the past 2 years. They sold it at a low price, and after deducting taxes and fees from the intermediary, they even earned tens of thousands. During this time, Song Zidong came again to look for an ATM. Palm up. I thought I could fulfill my wish just like before. But he was mercilessly scolded and didn't get any money, so he begged and scolded. Can Su Cuifang not curse? This spendthrift spent her 30,000 yuan in just over a month, a whole 30,000 yuan. It's like buying something before seeing it. Dressed like a beggar. So, where did all the money go? 30,000 yuan, you can only earn so much by working on the assembly line for a year. Good guy. You are not soft when it comes to flowers, and you are not soft at all when asked. Why is your face so thick? But she forgot that when she gave it out, her hands were not soft either. If you come out to mess around, you have to pay it back. Su Cuifang didn't take a beating when she saw the black sheep angry. Without money, Song Zidong completely obedient. Su Cuifang specifically called her younger sister Su Cuilan. She had promised to borrow money, but now she also wants to buy a house, so she can't lend the money. Su Cuilan was shocked. In her opinion, both her second sister and her husband belong to those who are stubborn and inflexible in their thinking, while her second brother-in-law has a traditional mindset and adheres to the principle of returning to the roots after falling leaves. This is it, have you really decided? Don't think about it anymore. What else are you considering? All the houses in our city have been sold. He made an appointment with the agent over there today and will take another look in a few days. If there are no objections, then we can make a decision. Her voice carried a relaxed smile. Have all the houses been sold? Su Cuilan was really speechless now. The two sisters talked for a while and then hung up. She turned her head and told her husband Chen Yimin about it, all of which sighed. I always thought that my second sister's family would live in the countryside for a lifetime, but I didn't expect to buy a house in the provincial capital. The new house is already in high demand. TSK. It feels like we've taken a step to the sky. I don't know why I feel a bit envious. Chen Yimin smiled and said, Song Gu has been working as a contractor for so many years, and he must have made money. However, moving the whole family together really requires a lot of courage. Yes, everything else is fine. It's the old man of his family. It's troublesome. Su Cuilan shook her head, saying that the old men of their three sisters' husbands' family are not easy to get along with each other, and they have made many disputes over the past decades. The favoritism of the elder sister's family. The selfishness and dominance of the second sister's family. Her family pretends to be crazy and fools others. Without hesitation, they all came over stepping on their own blood and tears. End of this chapter.